Our coffee court discussions this morning are entirely on corruption. The fight against corruption in Uganda are some of those particular ones that we greatly look at. In most of the areas, some people still mention corruption as something that is more challenging. But have we looked at how we can fight it? It is something that has actually challenged not only Uganda, but quite a number of African countries that are still developing. Now, on this particular journey, we have more of our discussions to see how we can fight this vice. This is the Coffee Court.
Thank you for watching Smart 24 TV as we continue to drive your business. Today's episode of Coffee Court is no different. As always, we shall always be asking the critical questions. Corruption has become endemic for the country. I think the most government officials, whenever they get opportunities in big offices, they only think of taking advantage. Yesterday, the IG, Honorable Betty Kamya, mentioned that the government of Uganda is losing 9.5 trillion from corruption alone. So with me is a guest that I will give an opportunity to introduce himself, and we will be breaking down this in bits. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So who is Matthias Mwesigwa?
Matthias Mwesigwa is a program officer at Coast Uganda. Coast Uganda, we promote transparency and accountability using 4 features, including multi-stakeholder approach, disclosure, assurance, and social accountability.
So what is your scope of activity in regards to curbing corruption as Coast Uganda?
Okay, our focus is on disclosure process, especially looking at infrastructure information. You know, in Uganda, there is a lot of construction work that is taking place, and we look at ensuring that the citizens are aware of what is happening. Then using the multi-stakeholder approach, we discuss with government on the issues that are rising from the assurance processes. The assurance process is where we work with government, specifically the Ministry of Works and Transport, to identify projects that we do assurance on. So the assurance is based on the information that is disclosed by that particular entity.
How do you get this information, and how do you gauge the corruption rate as Coast Uganda, and which exact office do you work closely with?
As already indicated, we work with the Ministry of Works and Transport, and of course you can't do work around public procurement in looking at infrastructure projects without looking at the PPDA, without looking at the Ministry of Finance. So we work with these and many other entities to ensure that we get information around the projects that are being executed. Then it's this, we carry out the assurance process, where these projects are assured to see what is implemented is matching what is in the project documents. For example, we are looking at the bid process, the evaluation process, and the actual contract execution. So, as you know, corruption, one way where we can curb corruption is through information sharing. So we use the disclosure platforms to get information, where citizens are able to access information. One of the disclosure platform is the government procurement portal. This is introduced by the PPDA. Then we have also the government budget portal, which also gives out information about the budget. We look at the entities themselves. They have notice boards where they publish this information. And when you look at the existing legal framework in Uganda, for example, the Constitution of Uganda 1995, as amended, Article 41(1) talks about every citizen has a right to access information. That is number one. Number two, Article 38 of the Constitution also talks about citizen participation in public affairs, of course, including the governance process. Article 17 of the Constitution also gives citizens power to monitor and participate in the fight against corruption. So we use these existing legal regimes to mobilize citizens. Here we're looking at private businesses to participate in the procurement processes, and at the same time come up with recommendations that would help to curb down the issues around public.
As I believe there is now electric procurement system. Yes. How is that working, and is it effective?
Yes. Currently, the EGP, which is electronic procurement, is rolled. Not all entities are on the EGP. So that means that all the entities are not reached in terms of electronic procurement. This was introduced to reduce the interface between the procuring entity and the person who is the contractor. So as of now, we started with 11 entities, but progressively, we started with, they started with Kampala, Jinja, and other municipalities around 11. So when you look at the EGP, the main purpose is to promote disclosure and transparency. People get information to participate. Here we are looking at fair business practices, whereby people are able to participate in the procurement process, follow the right procedure, and get awarded contracts through effective or accepted process.
What do you think are the 3 key pillars that can be done to curb corruption in the country as Coast Uganda?
First of all, as I indicated, corruption is high because people do not know what is being procured. Sometimes we see things being procured and we get information after the procuring process has been completed. That is number one. Share information with people to enable them participate in this process. We shall be ensuring value for money, value for many, and ensuring that efficiency and economy is integrated in the procurement process. That is number one. Number two, let the systems work. Yesterday, the IG, Honorable Kamia, talked about the existing legal regime. it is true we have the existing legal framework, but how effective is it working? The people who are involved in corruption cases, are they really executed? The question is, are we looking at people who are taking small monies or people who are taking large sums of monies? So the problem is the system is not working following the existing legal regime. Again, when you look at influence peddling as an element of corruption, in most cases you've seen the president come out to clear people or companies that are involved in public procurement or that have been identified to be, might be selected in not proper way. But you see the presidents coming out saying, you know what, I know these guys, they can do good work, which is very wrong because there is a law, public procurement law, which guides us on the procuring process. So why are we jumping the existing legal regime that guide on the procuring process? That is number one. Then when you bring or when you clear someone to participate or to provide a service without following the right procedure, that means he will pay allegiance to the person who contracted, not to the citizens or the people who are supposed to supervise them. Another thing that we could look at is also looking at the sanctions. People should be accountable. There should be heavy sanctions. Last year, they launched the lifestyle audit. How far have we gone in terms of auditing the lifestyle? Yesterday, Honorable talked about mobilizing people to
prayer.
Yes.
National prayer.
But then, if the process, as already indicated before, there is Article 17 that has already given us power to participate in curbing corruption. Again, there is Article 38 and Article 41 that gives us information and that would help us to curb down the corruption. Mobilizing citizens, it's okay, but what is very important, let the systems work.
The IG, sorry, I mistook her for the IGG. The IG, Honorable Betty Kamya, mentioned that she revealed that they have recovered 13 billion through negotiations. But do you think this should be the cause? I think there should be like legalized penalties, prosecutions, real prosecutions for these people so that they can serve as examples as cost Uganda. What is your take?
What we are saying is, first of all, strengthen the existing framework. That is number one. Negotiation is not a way to curb down corruption. It is, in fact, it's a way of encouraging what? Corruption. The best way is, first of all, arrest those people who are involved in the corruption cases. That is number one. Number two, prosecute them. Don't leave them. Prosecute them. And again, confiscate the items, the property that they have got out of the corruption. This will deter other people from engaging in corruption issues.
Okay. Do you think there are certain cases that can be avoided in terms of corruption? Because I don't think corruption can only be curbed from procurement alone. I feel people, fraud, bribery, I don't think it's only in a manner of procurement. So which other areas do you think corruption can be curbed from, apart from procurement itself?
Yeah, of course, everywhere we have corruption. But what is very important, we shouldn't look at the one who is receiving the bribe alone. We need also to look at the person who is providing also the bribe. All of them are committing a crime. So the moment we engage at two fronts, we shall in one way or the other reduce the corruption. Again, another question is about why are these people engaged in corruption cases? Maybe the issues on remuneration, the salary. You've seen people from time to time striking over salary enhancement. Maybe the existing salary is small to cater for their needs. So they resort into getting bribes or engaging in the practices that are not legal to get something to take home. So there is a lot to do. There is a lot to do in terms of there are those that are structural, there are those that are moral, there are those ones that will require the use of the existing legal regime.
What are some of those non-state efforts would you recommend as Coast Uganda for Ugandans?
Okay, first of all, we need to acknowledge that corruption is on the rise, and as citizens, it's our duty to identify those who are corrupt and report those who are corrupt as citizens. Then the civil society organizations, we should look at lobbying for strengthening of the existing laws, the implementation of the laws to ensure that those people who are caught in engaging in corruption issues are able to be apprehended, for people to learn from them. Then that will be one way of curbing the issue of corruption.
Do you think the National Prayers Day could fight corruption?
Well, of course, here we are addressing the issue of ethics and morals. Of course, our society, our people have lost yes, the morals.
Yes.
So since they have lost the morals, it's very important to bring them back to the right order. Maybe the hearts could be changed and become good citizens. Of course, whatever is taken from government, from the project, affects the delivery of public services. At the end of the day, it's the common person who suffers, because he will not be able to get the required medicine from the hospital. We've seen buildings collapse before being commissioned, and you've also seen even some projects have been commissioned when they're not functioning. So it's all, when we see the issues of the state calling people for national prayer, they're trying to bringing us back to the right course and do what is right. But of course, we need a combination of interventions that we can manage to curb down the issues around corruption.
Okay. It's been a great opportunity for having you on the show, and thank you too as well for watching. Stay tuned on Smart 24 for more and more. Till next time, my name is Rona Nahabwe.
More efforts need to be enforced. However, they look realistic if you're to look at that. And we can still enforce and kick out corruption in Uganda, not only focusing on the prayers, but also making sure just from the grassroots that corruption is no longer part and parcel of Uganda. So that means it starts with me, it starts with you. So we're supposed to follow the law. We should not accept money to drive us into anything, because the main cause of it is thinking that with money or with connections we can go far beyond the others. Let's try to push for greatness, and let's also try to push for fairness in the way we execute our duties in society. And in that way, trust me, we will have kicked out corruption out of Uganda. And it's a realistic call to everybody, and a realistic cause that we can definitely kick out corruption out of this country. And that is it for our Coffee Court Conversations this morning. After the break, I return with the topic of discussion.